Let's go ahead and run that back one more time. Well, you met Ryan. He's our guest today, and I feel like no further introduction is needed. He's a badass, as you can see, part-time DJ, a family man, and a successful headhunter in Tokyo. I'm Levi, your host for this episode of Tokyo Recruitment. I hope that you enjoy hearing about Ryan's story as well as his tips for recruiters, some books that helped him, some coaches and mentorship and trainings that he's also attended. He's really big on the kind of self-improvement, self-growth. And he's clearly not afraid to just put himself out there, which is what he's doing recently on LinkedIn, talking about his book, How to Sell Yourself Like a CEO. At first, when I saw this, I thought, I'm not a CEO. This doesn't apply to me. But actually, the book is not for CEOs at all, as Ryan will go into. I hope that you find this episode entertaining. And so your book itself, was this something that you had wanted to do for a while and just had it ruminating, but you finally unlocked the keys to getting it done? Or was it something that just kind of popped into your head?
I had been looking for a resource like this for years. And
to recommend to your candidates?
Yeah, because again, it was taking at least 30 minutes of my time every time I set up a first interview with a candidate and a client. I've been trained, and most of the folks out there who have come from Wall Street and any large reputable recruiting company, I'm sure, hopefully, have also been trained to interview prep their candidates, which was just innate for me, but it's also, in line with my values of wanting to build relationships and empower people to stand out, because I've seen the difference of someone showing up, relying on their CV to do the work versus someone showing up, having done just a little bit of preparation on why am I interested in this role? Why am I good for this role? How would I say that in 60 seconds? And what questions do I have? And what's the best way to ask those questions? For example, just not asking yes or no questions. And especially in Japan with English as a second language, we've got a lot of talent out there that just, can benefit a lot from just a moment of preparation. But regardless of English as a second language or not, just the act of being intentional is a behavior trait that I observe for almost all the CEOs out there. So again, I'd been looking for a resource like this to save my time and to help candidates. And I just couldn't find it until, a year ago, I stumbled upon a course on how to make a course. And it's like, follow these steps and then you'll have a course. And I'm like, oh, sounds like a good investment. So I pushed by and I did it. And then the hardest part of that was pressing record and just starting to talk and follow the bullet points that I had been coached to lay out. And, I remember that moment on a weekend in February last year, where I was sitting right here in this seat in front of this camera right here. And I literally felt like kind of a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier, kind of going through that sonic boom, stepping out of the comfort zone. I'm just like, What am I doing? It's like 8:30 a.m. and I'm in my sweater and cufflinks in front of this computer. Like, what am I doing? And I just clicked record. I started talking, and that's exactly what came out of it.
I mean, it's amazing because most people don't take that step, right? No, most people don't do it. At the same time, it seems like the barrier of entry is getting so low, like it's getting lower and lower. I wonder if we'll hit a point where it will become just completely saturated, right? And what happens then, I guess. It's a little off topic, but that thought just kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, that thought came to my mind as well. That made me very skeptical until I learned that the e-learning industry has, I forget the exact CAGR number, but the forecasted compounded annual growth rate of e-learning is huge. It's significant, and it's triggering a whole slew of startup businesses, websites like Udemy, even LinkedIn resources, etc. So if you were to look up the market size projection for e-learning, it's hard to ignore, because we're in an age now where people want knowledge at their fingertips. Right? And the content that I'm teaching could be taught theoretically by anyone. There's no patented, trademarked secret sauce there. I'm really bringing together pearls of wisdom that I've learned through my journey and passing them on for anyone else who might benefit. But the differentiator is that we're all human. And so just by being human and authentic and being yourself, the fact is there is only one of you. And so that's kind of what inspired me to just do it and not attached to any results, but just like, if I enjoy it and this can help someone else, then do it. And something that I heard Grant Cardone say once was, the right people will follow you and the wrong ones won't. That's enough for me.
Nice. How have the results been, if you can share, for the course or the book?
Yeah, I'm happy with it. The course I'm not actively selling. I mean, it is for sale, but I'm not promoting it. It's available. The book we're 8 days in to launch. So I need to check what the final 1 week numbers are in the next day, but I'm really happy with the amount of feedback that I've been getting. I think there's 8 reviews now on the Amazon US site, 7 on the Japan one, and I haven't checked other markets yet because I'm not really focusing there, but by way of registering with Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, that includes 13 markets in some format, whether it's Kindle or paperback or hardcover. But there's so much further to go. I'm not popping bottles and celebrating right now. I feel glad that this milestone is passed, but now it's a matter of, okay, publishing's done. The 20 edits to the final manuscript and all those kinds of headaches and cobwebs have been dealt with. But now it's a matter of creating reach. So how to make this book available, well, it already is available, how to spread the word.
Yeah,
that this resource
in front
is
of someone's face, basically, that this is here. Yeah.
And that impact isn't made by talking to one person at a time, but it's made by talking to people like yourself, who then have a community that they represent who might benefit from this. So although the book is called Sell Yourself Like a CEO, it's not for people who want to be CEO of a company. It's for people who want to have control of their own path. So to adopt the CEO mindset of, wait a second, I don't need to wait for someone else to tell me what to do or to pave my path for me. We're all in control of our own life, and this book provides the path to reflect on who one is and the values and what you like to do, and then how to practically then stand out in interviews and negotiate and transition. So the essence behind it is to think like a CEO, just by taking control of your career.
Interesting. Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was for people that are aspiring to be a CEO, but the way you've laid it out, initially I thought it maybe sounds like more of an interview prep book, and now it sounds like it's kind of a holistic career coaching type of book. Is that how you would put it, or?
Exactly. So the STAR method training, that part is just one part of navigating the job market. But then there's problems before and after that. So before that, it's like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Right? How can I be confident in what I've already done? Whether you're a senior VP or maybe someone just in college, that all the experience you've had is in like a club or, being part of a charity organization or something. There's little things that may seem little in that journey as well, that can absolutely be leveraged for whatever your next step is. So it's just about recognizing that and being proud of that, so that you can communicate that confidence in an interview setting as well, just by being you, not by being someone you're not. But it's the concept that being authentic can trigger beautiful relationships, and then all the way through joining into a new position and having that 90-day plan, because that 30, 60, 90 days can hugely affect the trajectory of your long-term career there.
Something came up as you're talking about that kind of authenticity or people being who they are. I was talking to a aspiring recruiter. He's just trying to join the industry, applying to some different firms, currently an English teacher. And he was mentioning, I don't really have anything that I've really stuck to, or, I don't really have anything that I can share in my past that's going to be impressive at all. I've only done English teaching. And then I was like, what do you do for a hobby? And he was saying, oh, I do rock climbing. And, it comes out that he's climbed Half Dome. It took 11 hours for him to scale. They take breaks as they're tied up there, and drinking water, but they have their whole packs for 11 hours just climbing straight up a sheer cliff. And I was like, dude, the amount of grit that it takes, the amount of training and preparation that you put into that, the amount of time that you have spent, your ability to handle stress under pressure in a high stakes situation, like you have all these things going for you that you can already mention to the interviewers. And this is something that it's so powerful because it's so specific, right? It's
Absolutely.
it's only powerful because it is so specific. And I think that's what the START method's all about. If you just say generally, I can adapt to situations, or I'm passionate about working, anyone can say that they're a good communicator, but until you show something very specific, it doesn't really have any resonance, right? Or it doesn't have that authenticity too. So I think it's
Absolutely.
a really, really interesting concept.
Yeah, the mental fortitude that gentleman you've just described demonstrates in that feat of climbing a half dome. Is that
I believe
you
so,
described
yeah.
And I've been rock
It's
climbing
in,
myself,
Mhm.
but only to like 10 feet or so. So
Yeah.
that's a huge amount of physical, mental endurance. So to just like be able to project that into a
hmm
different scenario is a
Mm.
skill in itself, and we can all do it.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like your book is helping people to do just that. So I think it's well needed. And definitely, I think I can start recommending it to people as well as they're trying to, prep for interviews and just figure out, what they want in life, which is most of what I do, as a job. I don't have a book that talks about it quite yet, but I think that's important. And I'm curious for yourself, what is your vision? Do you think that you'll be in recruitment? Do you think you'll go towards the e-learning route, or is this just to supplement what you're doing right now in recruitment, or what are your plans?
Yeah, it's really just to supplement and to follow an instinct,
Mm,
calling, I suppose, because I've been looking for this kind of resource for so long that there must be some need out there for this. So now that
mm-hmm,
it's a reality, how can I also learn along the way about digital marketing, social media, how to
mm-hmm.
understand what people want? Because if we can address what people want, everything becomes a much easier because it's something people want instead of
Yeah,
something that
you think
it's
they
just
want, or
one-sided.
yeah,
But
makes sense.
ultimately, I'm a headhunter, and I love what I do, and I still feel like a beginner at this in
Mm,
many ways. So I'm absolutely still in this for the long haul, and my vision, to answer your question, is to be able to provide the best retained search service in Japan for healthcare and life science companies.
excellent.
And really, the measurement of that in my mind is not billing, that's a byproduct.
Mm,
It's customer testimonials and
mm-hmm,
feedback, because in this business they do the promotion for us. Hey, I've used this guy, he's really
mm-hmm.
good, you should use him too. That's how real strong brands and businesses are built. So that's the ultimate measurement. I can just do what I think is right and make sure that I'm performing at my best every day.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing all of this, and I'm sure that it will be inspiring to other recruiters. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, I guess, or do you manage a team right now, and are you looking for people, or are you solo?
I do manage a team. We're all fairly independent. So the type of person who should consider RGF executive search is someone who's already got a foundation of recruiting experience. They've already gone out and they've met, the hundreds of people on the database to build their network, as you've described recently in a LinkedIn post. And then if you're wanting more freedom, a work from home environment with an office to go to if you wish, and a very clear and industry-leading commission scheme. It's very
Mm,
competitive. It's at the top of the line, and it's very easy to calculate what you're going to take home. Crystal
mm.
clear, and to my knowledge, it's never changed since the origination of the company, 1998. So it's reliable.
I remember using RGF executive search stats when we were presenting to management to try to um, adjust our pay structure. It was the highest that we had found. So I don't know if that's changed at all. I know there's places like Zensho and that are very much like independent, but besides that, I think it's pretty competitive. And it
Yeah.
looks like it's best for experienced recruiters know what they're doing and they want to have, I guess, a little bit more independence.
Yeah, well, you can bring a network and you want to have the freedom to do what you need to do and self-manage. So yes, I manage a team, but the guys are all really independent. I don't really do that much, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
just help out, make recommendations when I meet great people, share jobs. That's it.
What brought you into recruitment in the first place?
So I'm originally from Canada, but I was born in the UK, and my parents moved to Japan when I was 10. So I've been in Japan well over half my life, went to international school, and then back to Canada, Vancouver, for university, studied business there before finding an internship in Tokyo at Wall Street Associates, which is now called N-World, following the acquisition by N Japan. And at that time, I didn't know what recruiting was. I vaguely understood the concept of introduce someone to a company and issue an invoice. So the first day I walked in the door and seeing over 100 people on the floor, on the phone, talking to each other, writing on the interview boards and sharing information it was a thrill to see, whoa, this is the real world. This is the real world of business, because the performance criteria is crystal clear for everyone. And this business is built on relationships and trust, as you frequently share about on LinkedIn. So that really resonated with me. One, the clarity of setting a goal and you know what you need to do to achieve that goal, but then also the art, I suppose, of building relationships and networking and understanding people and asking them questions. And so something told me, like, there's infinite potential in this business. Just the way that you can ask one question a little bit differently and get a different response. There was a strong hint of infinite possibility. It hooked me. So over the next 8 years, following in the footsteps of the mentors that I had, the senior consultants I had around me in the early days, building relationships, going to lunches, even if there was no job, just to value that relationship with the belief that someday those relationships would bear fruit, that you would be of value to them with the right opportunity at the right time. It just made sense that committing to this game or to this profession would eventually yield results. Now, I didn't make as grand results as you have, Levi, in your time as a recruiter, but it really fulfilled me. And I wanted to get better. I wanted to be working on exclusive projects where I had the client's full attention and work on the biggest problems, essentially. And that's what attracted me to RGF Executive Search. This is where I am now. I've been here for 6 years, loving it, and keeps on getting better and better.
I'm curious, what do you remember a challenging point, like some time that you felt like you wanted to quit, but you decided to stick with it and go anyway?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do remember a time when I was at N-World, about 10 years ago now, where I was cycling down Ginza on a beautiful day, just feeling lost. Where am I going with this? I'm enjoying what I do, but ultimately every quarter we're back to zero. We're only as good as our last placement, right? But I knew there was something more, but I didn't know yet what that was. And so over time, I've invested a lot of time into self-development, time management, and read a lot of books. I've also been privileged to, through these client lunches and candidate lunches and dinners and relationship building, learn so much from leaders out there. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned that's really helped me to have a vision. And of course that changes, right? I mean, just going into COVID, the whole world changes, and so do possibilities. As they say, don't let a crisis go to waste. So I saw that as an opportunity to get that vision, and more it's become more and more vivid. So family is a part of that. And in terms of this profession, really partnering with clients at a high level for the biggest problems in healthcare and life sciences, which is an industry that badly needs leadership, with many of the current executives retiring. So how do we guide clients to have more of a competitive edge and clear brand for their own, for their own employer value proposition to resonate with the right people in the market? Because it's an all-out war for talent, and we as recruiters are a big part of conveying and amplifying the right message to the right people.
That's super interesting to hear that you're tying it all to your vision. And you shared a little bit about this, I guess. I'm curious, was that what got you out of that funk that day? Or was it just some switch flipped later on and you just kept going and putting your head down and getting through it after that sunny day in Ginza? Or
Yeah, one of the things that I was taught when I joined Wall Street was, Ryan, go and shadow the best people in the office. Who's the best at this, who's the best at that? Go shadow them and take the best parts of that and make it into your own blend or your own style, your own way. And so that memory of that pearl of wisdom kept me going. It helped me to bounce back to stay at Enworld for an additional few years at that point, and then ultimately followed a few of my colleagues and friends to Allegis, because that's where I knew I would get more intensive exposure to make or break, right? To really double down on that vision. And what Allegis did very well is teach how to differentiate and seek the voice of the customer, seek to understand before seeking to be understood. And that was a valuable skill that taught me.
You're someone clearly who, I mean, you're a measured speaker as well. I'm curious, like, if you've received coaching or training for this, and more generally, like, what resources do you think were the most impactful for you? Like, if you could share specifically what books or trainings or programs were the most game-changing for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Levi. I've always enjoyed public speaking. I found it easier to speak than to type out an email, or it can take me an hour to type out a well-thought email. In the same time, I can get through a podcast like this with you, or a client meeting really is where most of my speaking is done. But there was one book that helped me to be comfortable and with myself as a speaker, because someone talking too much can also just be seen as self-indulgent, right? Which is not who I want to be, of course. But there was a book that I read. It was a little pocket book that I picked up in an airport for like $5, and it was called Next Generation Leader. And in that book, there was one line that's always stuck out to me, and it said, "Only do what only you can do." Powerful, right? And we all have that one thing that comes naturally to us, for whatever reason that is, that we love and do better than people around us. To identify that one thing can be a game changer. I was doing a webinar with Catherine O'Hara a few years ago. She said the same thing. Her advice to the next generation was to find that one thing, that one skill that you really enjoy, and hang on to that and double down on that and really ride that through to see where that can open doors for you. So that was kind of like permission for me to accept that and to not hold back from taking more opportunities to speak. And that's why, enjoying client meetings, I thought, why not convert some of these client meetings into webinars so other people can join along and benefit from the kind of insights shared. But in terms of other books for self-development, I do a lot of reading on time management, because working from home, and especially at a company like RGF Executive, where it's completely work from home. We have an office, we can go in if we like, but we downsize that office from a capacity of over 100 to a capacity of, I believe, less than 40 seating spaces after COVID. So how do we use this time, right? Taking up the gym is one thing that I've done, and thanks to Calendly, I can block out, those chunks of time. So every day, no one can book a meeting with me between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. because that's my buffer time to be at the gym. But there's two books that have really empowered me to own my schedule and to put my energies where I can most benefit others and recognize my natural flows. One is Atomic Habits. It's a bestseller. Pretty much everyone's heard of it. But it's amazing how, by looking at what are those good habits, how can we make them more convenient and rewarding to do? So one of the things I wanted to get into as a hobby was DJing. I love house, dubstep, drum and bass. When I'm in the gym, that's my energy drink right there. That gets me going. So I'm like, how can I create an environment where I can do this more often? And I got some company coupons from this incentive thing, and I bought a DJ console, and I put that DJ console by my window with my MacBook next to it. So at night, when I'm done my last meetings and I've done my data entry and I'm, it's happy hour, so to speak, I go and open up my MacBook and press the on button on my controller, and I just start DJing. And so because of that, I just play around with it. I took some free tutorials, and that little habit of creating an environment where it was easy for me to do that is a creative outlet. At the end of the day, I'm a family man, so I never go out and party anymore like I used to. I go to bed at 9 p.m. every night, and I'm up with the sun at 4 to 6 a.m. without an alarm every day. So that's my, you know,
But you
that's
get your
my,
little party time
yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
day.
So going back to Atomic Habits, just recognizing that one thing as something that fulfilled me, it was a creative outlet, and I could quite affordably get a small setup at my house. And, I just started experimenting with streaming those on YouTube as well, DJ Ryan Tokyo. It's a very young channel, but that's where I'm also learning about how to build a social media engine through organic growth just by sharing what we love with the world. Right? And there's a saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. Some people are going to dig it and some people won't. And that's totally cool. There's no attachment to results there. But Atomic Habits has been really helpful for me to create an environment, whether it's DJing or fitness or keeping my son accountable to his studies, to study his 3 pages of kanji memorization a day and whatnot, among other things. And the second book that has had a big impact on that has really been a game changer in 2024 is a book called Buy Back Your Time. And as I've been going through retained search training, there's a way that I've worked has accelerated so quickly thanks to a very clearly laid out methodology that I was quickly confronted with moments where I gotta find out what I can outsource here. What are those things that I should be working on and that I shouldn't be working on that could be done by someone else for cheaper than a fourth of the value of my time? And Buy Back Your Time gives you that very simple formula to calculate what is your buyback rate, the value of your time divided by 4. Anything less than that, if you can outsource it for that price or less, something that you don't enjoy or isn't taking full advantage of your strengths, do it, because ultimately that's a 4x return. And so that gave me permission to spend money, even where, things that I couldn't expense, such as resources that I utilized to write a book this year, Sell Yourself Like a CEO, which was inspired by my recruiting profession and especially learning how to take candidates through a retained search process. Part of the retained search methodology is a competency assessment. So not just sending out a CV, but sitting down with a candidate once they've expressed interest in a role. Say, great, tell me about a time when you've developed a team, or you've turned around a business, or whatever the specific competencies are for that role. And we need to collect from them a STAR method based example: situation, task, action, result. So it should sound something like, when I was at such and such company, I had to such and such. So what I did was A, B, C, and as a result, we achieved Y. Quite simple. Right? That's like 30, 40 seconds or so. But getting a tangible story or example has been challenging. And 4 out of 5 candidates, when I sit down with them to do this, they can't do it. You can't do it in just a few minutes. It takes coaching. And that's something that once I realized how much time I was spending on coaching candidates, which I love, but because I love coaching candidates, I realized that going back to like 2014, 15, when I really took interview prep seriously to maximize my pipeline, I found myself doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So over time, I thought, man, what if I could put this into like a course or something, or what if are there courses out there? And I just never found the right thing. And so when I read Buy Back Your Time, suddenly I was like, wait a second, there's all these resources out there, like ChatGPT, just to dump an idea into, right, and have it hone it for you. One of the concepts in Buy Back Your Time is ideation, delegation, perfection, I think. So it's the 10-80-10 rule. 10% is ideation. So what is that idea? Just dump it out there. I have this idea, I want to do this is what it looks like, this is the goal. And then you get a team or a resource, could just be ChatGPT or whatever sort of AI tool you're using, and that can do the 80% of then refining that idea into something customer ready, or into more of a finished version. And then that remaining 10% is to go in and like, I like this, but you need to change this and this and this, and boom, done. Right? And so that's when I started experimenting with that. Now it's like whenever I have something I feel stuck with every day, I'll just kind of like do a brain dump into ChatGPT. Even when I'm shopping with my wife, I'll be in the corner like, hey, ChatGPT, I'm trying to do this, what do you think? And be like, oh, wow, that's a great idea, Ryan. It's so supportive, right? And then I'll hone it to get exactly what's kind of lurking up here, but I don't have the bandwidth to articulate that and hone that. So, the book is just one context of that. I actually did make a course last year by speaking the whole course into something, but I didn't know how to market it. So then I took the transcription of that entire course for 4 hours and 20 minutes and used ChatGPT to help me craft that into a book.
Wow.
Using the ideation, delegation, perfection principle. And it took 2 months of constant tweaking and honing. So I used it as like my ghostwriter that I micromanaged. But the beauty of ChatGPT is it doesn't complain about micromanagement and power harassment. You know what I mean? You can use it to do whatever you want. So that was a powerful tool that enabled that journey, not just writing the content, which again is all original. It's all based on the raw one take course that I spoke into a microphone about a year ago now. So I'm comfortable, 100% comfortable to be putting my name on this as a first time self-published publication in the world. But it wasn't just the content, it was the entire publishing strategy behind it. How does Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing work? If I was to publish elsewhere, name 10 resources that I could use to self-publish. If I had to pick 2 of those that were going to deliver 80% of the result, which ones would those be? You know what I mean? And just use that literally as a co-pilot to turn ideas into reality. So, I would not have been able to do it without that being a resource at my, fingertip at any time I wanted. And that's what I found really empowering about Buy Back Your Time. Permission to spend money on things. I also spent about $800 US on Fiverr.com for book designs, formatting. It's so easy to do, but I didn't know how to do it before. Reading Buy Back Your Time gave me the permission that it's okay to go out and spend a bit of money if it's going to help you create value into the world. So highly recommend Buy Back Your Time to anyone who resonates with that story for whatever kind of idea it is that you want to do too.
I mean, ideas, for some people, ideas I think flow really easily, but then obviously the execution is like 90% of it, as we know. And if you can outsource that 80% to a machine or to someone else that you're paying, and then you come in and polish the last 10%, that seems pretty brilliant. I haven't heard it put so succinctly, but it sounds like a really interesting book. Thank you very much, Ryan. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with people before I let you go?
So I suppose 2 things in terms of pieces of advice for younger recruiters or people considering entering recruitment. One is to be curious, follow what interests you and what you naturally want to learn about, because that's what's going to turn this from work into fun. Yes, you'll still need to be resilient and have grit and all the rest of it, but that's 2025. We all need resilience and grit in this day and age. And the second is ask the difficult questions, because as you know, Levi, when closing someone, which is also ultimately what we need to do, we've got to understand who's the real decision maker in the situation. And often it's going to be, the wife or the husband or the grandmother or the shrine or the cat, or who knows. It's different in every situation. And the more comfortable, the faster we can get comfortable asking those difficult questions, of course, with kindness and compassion, with the genuine interest to understand their decision-making calculus, so we can help them make a better decision. Because if it's not meant to be, then it's best to recognize that and just move on, right?
Can I ask how you would ask that type of question of it doesn't sound like this person is maybe the decision maker that you're talking to, so how would you frame a question like that?
I think it really just starts with listening, doesn't it? Listening and allowing for a moment of silence or that pause, so that if there's something else that's kind of working its way up. Because, we're all busy. The candidate might well not have had time to digest the situation either. This might be the only moment they have to do that. So to let that moment just allow things to ruminate and bubble up, we can often then get some really powerful information that helps us to understand the person better. And the beauty that I found is that usually it tends to be something really small, but it just needs to work its way out. But without being worked out and kind of surfacing, it's hard to make that final decision with confidence sometimes. So just listening and allowing that space for those things to bubble up so the person feels comfortable, and then that information bubbles up, because we're an information business. Information is gold.
You're sounding like a coach to me, talking about, listening, providing a space. And I mean, that's what I think a lot of recruitment is at the end of the day when you're having those conversations, is providing a space for people and letting them know maybe that they can be comfortable to express that to you. And, the world's not going to come crashing down if they tell you these things. In fact, you can help them to navigate situations better if they are honest and open up. So I think if you have that trust and you can provide that space, that's probably something only, that top tier recruiters are doing. But it sounds like you're doing it. And I know other successful people who are too. So those are great tips.
Yeah, those moments can showcase these beautiful little ahas that can really be very fulfilling, just to be able to help someone to navigate a decision like that and see them working through, their thought process is very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's even an aha to themselves, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not just a surprise to you, but it's a surprise to them too. But brilliant. I think these are great tips for people. I hope that, this has been a good experience for you. I know you're usually on the other side doing your webinars, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, Levi. It's been a lot of fun. Been a pleasure, and wishing you a great day and great remainder of this podcast series as well.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Levi. Over and out.